Double that.
Today is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. The time is 6 o'clock p.m. I'd like to call the regular village board meeting to order. Myself, Mike Kepper, present.
Caleb Garner.
Don Kern, present.
Chris Marino here.
Ryan Seagard. Brandon Cronin here.
Chris Dubak, present.
We're going to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment?
Hi, Ryan Manaus. The last month when I was here, you guys told me I would be on the agenda for this meeting. I'm down here because I'm not on the agenda. I'm still having problems. Again, this week, the water took almost a week to reside and I was able to float a canoe and I have pictures of that. We're up to 13 times this property has now flooded mine and it never did it before. Capstone was a partner with you in this project. You guys told me you would help address this, and now it looks like you guys are just trying to push us off to. How can we get past this and make them accountable for this? Is there a possibility to be on the next meeting, so it's actually a topic to discuss?
We can't ask questions or answer questions during the public comment, but I asked, the village attorney after you guys have talked, so he can give the village's opinion.
And my concern with that is the stormwater permits are in the village's name. When I first seen the board go up at the edge of the road, Bob Gunther's name was on those paperwork, so that's village employees. So how is the village not accountable for what their developer is doing? And MSA, which is also a subcontractor of the village, signed up on this stuff. Thank you.
Brandon Mondor, 754 190th Avenue in Somerset Township is the property that I'm here to discuss. We do own multiple other properties within the Somerset Village. In the past, we have had notification for anything that has gone up, and I can name off many, but for example, when the amphitheater wanted to be rezoned, when behind 320 Churchill, we had a change in zoning, they were gonna do some outdoor storage. When the preferred building went up, when preferred or gateway started storing all their stuff outside, we have gotten notification for all of those. Including when our neighbor across the street, Lemire's, wanted to just add a separate parcel for his property, and it was for our nephew. So we've been notified for almost everything that's happened in the village that has been within 100 feet, I believe is the rule. We were never notified of 137 houses being put up next to our house. That's very frustrating. If we had been, we would have been able to maybe look at some of the stuff a little bit sooner. Provide some input, understand what was going on a little bit better, but we're just really frustrated right now with the actions, how this has been presented, and then to hear or get a letter that basically states you're on your own. And now you have to go deal with the developer for any kind of runoff, storm issues, encroachment, any of that kind of stuff. When there are development agreements in place between the village and the contractor, the village is going to end up with that land that we're talking about that they had to regrade that is adjacent to our property. That's going to be turned right back over to the village. And that any future expansion or development agreements that you guys make with anyone else is going to affect our land. So like Ryan said, we can deal with it today while the developer is still on site, while you still have some clout, or we can deal with it in a couple of years. But stormwater is a problem. Their access to other people's land is a problem. It's been recurring, not just with us, but other people. And we keep coming to the stage, other people from the community keep coming to the stage and saying that this is an issue. And it's not being resolved. So what does the village do for its existing homeowners, its existing people, besides provide more tax money? That's not the right way to go. You need to protect us. You need to stand up for us. There needs to be something that says that when a developer does something wrong and they have a large agreement like this, that they are going to support somehow there's gonna be some support for the existing people around them. Do you have anything more?
Talk about the cost of getting correct in the future.
Cost of it, well, I think everybody understands that the cost of doing something now is way different than the cost of fixing problems later. So if we have Zwicky's land get developed, now we see additional runoff onto our land. And now you have to somehow revamp all of the stormwater system because there's so much more surface flow. And the result of it is the compounding development that's happening. It's gonna be really difficult to do that. You are not gonna have space. So, strong suggestion. We were happy to work with the developer to make this right, to provide any kind of input that you guys need, but we're not gonna do it on our own. So we'll continue to fight this.
And Bob and I had kind of talked about it and we said kind of beyond our pay grade. So we referred it to the village attorney who wrote the letter. So Paul, can you kind of
No,
address it?
I guess it's not the time to be discussing this.
Right.
And I think if you want it to be on an agenda, then that's a decision that the board will make in the future, but, really, you should be talking to the developer, and the developer should be talking to you. And if they're not, and it's my understanding that they have been,
This is not a development issue. Everybody that has touched those drawings, everybody that has approved those drawings,
this is.
it comes down from DNR to Public Works to the,
Well, we're not gonna debate it. And you need to talk to the developer,
which we have.
okay? And that's the avenue to take. Now, if the developer refuses to talk to you, then come back and we'll encourage the
This is
developer.
our
to
third
talk.
time back. The first time was in front of the township, then it was at a joint meeting. We were supposed to be here last week, or last month, you were unavailable, so we're here now. We were supposed to be on the agenda.
I don't control the agenda, but we can't be talking about this because it's not an agenda item.
Okay. What constitutes not getting any feedback from the developer? Because we have reached out to them, we've given them some options. Tried to discuss with them some alternatives to just the encroachment, but stormwater is a completely different, that's not something that they can fix for us. That's something they have to fix holistically within their entire development. So it's not something where we're just concerned about the grading that comes onto our property. We're concerned about the grading throughout. On our end, it'd be the whole northwest corner, or northeast corner, sorry. And in Ryan's sense, it's on the whole west side. So this is not something that we're gonna work out with them.
You think, so
Yeah, we can't be
We can't discuss
discussing
it,
this
but-
tonight.
it was my understanding that the letter would kind of serve that it wasn't the village's position to talk about it. But if you're saying we can put it on the agenda.
You can put anything on the agenda you want, but I'm saying that, if you want to put the village as the role of the mediator, I don't think that's a good idea. I think the village can certainly support it by saying, developer, talk to these people that have an issue and try to resolve this.
Except that it's not our responsibility to,
This is
Just-
an issue between private land.
it's not. It's also
Well,
the
that-
public
and-
land. It's the
and that's
Grandeur
where we
Road is gonna flood,
disagree, and
so.
And that's where it's gonna have to end tonight.
I would like to request to be put on the next agenda, please.
Okay, and then in the meantime, see what you guys can work out with Capstone. And Andrew, put it on for the next village board meeting.
Larry Mondor, 754 190th Avenue. Just want to continue on with that conversation a little bit. Back to where she's discussing about the conflict between us and that developer. It's actually the attorney sitting here. His pay comes from us, the village people. So you kind of work for all of us. And this problem we're having is, it's a concern of the whole village, because if it isn't getting taken care of right now, it might be 5 years from now, it's gonna have to get taken care of. Right now, the developer has to pay for it. 5 years from now, the developer ain't paying for it. It's the village people that are gonna pay for it, which is gonna be a lot of money. So why wouldn't we as a village had taken care of right now from the developer and they pay the price unless there's something going on that we all don't know about? Why we're backing the developer on this? The developers make lots of money. I mean, especially the way that they were given that land or what all worked out. They're making a lot of money on this. There's no reason that the taxpayer should have to pay to correct this problem. And so therefore, not just for us, but this needs to be on the agenda. And everybody out there that's watching this right now needs to come to this meeting and talk about this, because I don't think any of us want to pay for this problem that's being created right now. Back to the encroachment.
Well, a minute left.
Okay, back to the encroachment, we have reached out to Capstone, we've given them a solution that would help both of us, and they won't even return my calls now. So. Is it up to me to go get a lawyer to go after Capstone because the village brought in this developer that's causing issues in this town, so now anybody that has problems has to go get a lawyer? I mean, we have an attorney that the village pays for. Isn't that what we have him for? I mean, to turn around and tell us village people that it's our problem? I mean, I don't think that's right at all. That's all I have. I would really, really like this to be put on the agenda so it can be discussed openly between everybody. I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't be on the agenda. If
Thank
we,
you, Larry.
one more thing, that once that land is turned back over to the village, it will be the village's problem. It won't be Capstone's anymore. So we need to do that before the land's getting turned back over and the village is paying Capstone back. Thank you.
Larry. Bob, can you be kind of the liaison between those guys and Capstone to collect all the information needed for the next meeting?
Absolutely.
And you have Bob's email?
Yep.
You guys do. All right. Thank you, guys. Any more public comment? Kim?
Hi, Kim Dunley, 301 Main Street. I'm here representing the Somerset Champions Council tonight, and I just am here to bring your awareness that we have Community Cleanup Day coming on April 26th. Joanne, this is Joanne Hardegger's baby. She started this a number of years ago, and a couple of years ago, the Champions have partnered with her, and the village has done a lot of partnering with her as well. She's unable to be here tonight, but she sent me some notes, so I'm gonna try and make sure that I get to everything. The MSA staff that has done the online map where you can go and select and say, this is a road that I'm gonna clean up, and then you, go back and, update the map saying that it was clean. So MSA is working on getting that map updated, so that we can roll this out and get it out to the community so people can get started on this. We have a couple of new items this year. One is included in the Community Cleanup Day, ditches, roads, parks. We're looking at cleaning up the old town hall here on Main Street, giving it a good cleanup inside and out. Doing some maintenance work outside and a lot of cleaning, windows, floors, that type of thing. So you might see that if anybody's interested in helping out with that. If cleaning up in ditches isn't your thing, but you'd like to help out with that town hall. And secondly, we're starting a friendly competition between the village and the town. The village, we've talked to Bob, potentially there's the idea of having a dumpster donated and put in the corner lot up here, and we've already talked to the town board. Joanne's going in front of their next board meeting to get, make sure that will work for them too, to put a dumpster, and we'll label them village and town. And then people can go clean up their trash and bring it over to this corner lot, and you get to decide which dumpster you put it in. Whichever one gets the most trash, we're gonna have a traveling Oscar the Grouch trophy that can go back and forth year to year. Have a little fun with this and clean up the space.
Like the Wisconsin Badger and Gopher Axe.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, yeah, kind of like that. There's gonna be a lunch served to everybody who participates, and that's gonna be donated by Steve Kaufman again this year. Joanne's hoping that all the board members will participate, come out and participate and help us out in this community cleanup day, maybe even build some teams. you know, and, get some more participation that way. We're gonna ask the town board. We've already approached Ed, the town board chairman, and he's all in. So he's gonna try and help get all the board members there to help participate. The cleanup date is April 26th. It's from 9 to 12. It's rain or shine. Last year we had a rain date. First date rained, so we moved it up. It rained the second day anyway, so we were out there in the rain. We can do this in the rain. It's okay. Let me know if you have any questions.
What was the time on that again?
9 to 12 on Saturday, April 26th. So there's a lot of roads in the village, in the township. There's the town hall, if that's more your appeal to help out. But we're here, a number of weeks early, so you get it on your calendar and hope that you participate.
Thank you, Kim.
Nice community.
Anybody else for public comment? Approval of agenda?
Caleb Garn make a motion to approve, the agenda as presented.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the minutes of February 25th, with village water, public sewer bills, public works, reconditioning proposal, and the pickleball courts for Larry Forrest, and the fire rescue reports.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion?
Yes, I'm afraid I have to pull the minutes. We do need to discuss them. There's a couple of.
February 25th?
Yes.
Minus the minutes, we can pull the consent agenda.
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, wanna go through the minutes?
So if under new business, we have the discussion possible approval to 5 and 6 incentives. And then when you look down to Josh Lowe at shared information regarding TID 5 annexing, that was really more to 6 that we're discussing, wasn't it? I mean, TID 5 was very briefly mentioned. But is it the agreement that we just came to was for TID 6? The $1.4 million payment?
Yeah, no, it was TID 5 for the apartment.
He talked about that at the special meeting on February 20th, both of them, but then he only brought TID
TID
6
6
to the board.
for Pine Bay.
The 1.4, 1,460,000 was only TID 6.
Correct.
It wasn't, we discussed TID 5, but we didn't do anything with TID 6, or only did with TID 6.
Right. So for clarity.
So proposing to just strike that, that bullet point?
I would just change it to TID 6.
Okay, I'm just asking for clarification.
And then the next line, motion by Kern, seconded by Crone to table to approve. So I believe we approved that resolution. So just table should be struck. It's just an extra word. We don't need that. I'm sorry,
You
one
can
more.
interpret that mean no action was taken, but action
Right.
was.
Exactly right, yep. And then the second page, there's an extra line.
We got that as a handout.
The
So
closed session, exactly, yeah. So there's motion by Kern, second by Crone to move out of closed session, and motion carried unanimously. And then the next line is more clear and it gives the time. So it repeats the same line. So I say we strike the first line and stick with the second that has the time that we adjourn. I mean, that's just a typo, I'm guessing.
So you're saying you want to delete 7:58 PM in this motion moving out of closed session?
No, look
No,
the
no,
line
no,
above.
in closed session, there's 3 bullet points, middle bullet point.
It's just an extra one.
Make a motion to approve the minutes with the changes as presented.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
New business discussion, possible approval, developers agreement for Olson Sanitation.
Yeah, so this is in advance from last board meeting, worked expeditiously to get this agreement to the board. The Wilson family has had an opportunity to review, provide some comments back. Always satisfied with, I don't think that we really had anything. No, comment basis, but. And the terms are in there and included, and the rest of the body is fairly similar to all the other agreements that we've done.
This is kind of consistent, the same kind of practices we've had with other, like, business owners, like in Kit 5 too.
Correct.
Is this the first time we're seeing it though, right now? I guess I don't think I've seen it in my email.
I don't know if it was,
Not the signed version. This is the first time I've seen a signed version. The rest was emailed in the packet, yeah.
It's a 125,000 50/50 split on the increments generated by that parcel. $1.6 million assessed value on it. It's consistent.
Would you get the 1 point what?
1.6.
Yeah.
That's consistent with what you've done in other.
Well, and that's kind of part of the problem with the last two bids, was paying up front before we're getting that tax increment financing in.
This is not.
Right.
Bingo.
That's what, this is all.
And they're supposed to have it built by the end of the year, so.
And this is gonna add jobs. to
This calendar year?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is gonna add jobs also to the area, I believe.
six.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the developers agreement
I will second.
for Olson Sanitation and OMG Properties.
First and a second, any further discussion?
Just, I know it's with the changeover with the clerk on page 11. The notary of public, the reference is Tasia, so whenever that gets signed, that needs to be clarified, so.
Yeah, we'll just have to.
Yeah,
There you go.
missed it. Who texted the other one?
Thanks for catching that.
Any further discussion, all in favor? Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Discussion possible approval, AT&T lease renewal.
Bob, I'll let you speak to this.
AT&T has their antennas on Water Tower downtown. Their lease is coming due.
Okay, so I mean, who else has antennas on? Nobody else, it's all of them.
T-Mobile decommissioned.
Do they it's, you probably don't know, if they subcontract their space out to other carriers? Just one, people always ask, where's the,
It's a good
X,
question.
Y, Z tower?
Trying to do that.
Yeah,
Right. No.
so, thank you.
We had gone back and forth a little bit, and then the committee asked for, they basically countered their proposal and advanced the 10% increase to match what was on a different proposal, and they agreed to do that. The terms of the annual rent have come down about $4,000. So
Per annual.
per annum, yeah,
Not overall, per annum,
yes,
for you.
per year. They argue that, they do a market study and base a value on the location of the antennas, which to me is, well, it's too bad, but I don't know that the rent should ever come down. They should either evaluate it and say we want to stay here and, $20,000 10 years ago isn't $20,000 today. So I guess it's at the board's discretion to come back with another counter offer. And then Paul is also reviewing some of the language that they've embedded.
They wanted to add some provisions in there, and I've got a lot of concerns about those. Especially when they're on a water tower. They want unlimited access 24/7 without notifying the village. And,
It's fine to their communication stack in their building, but getting access
You want
to
people
their
climbing up
antennas is a
your
different
tower?
story, you know.
Is there anything that, would, like Homeland Security and stuff like that kind of oversees that would be a problem? Can we
I think
pursue
you
their
have,
authority?
I think you have concerns about your water tower and who's getting access to that. And the safety of that structure. Also, it doesn't address,
Insurance or,
well, and, you know, and I haven't looked through all the.
This may be more a bullet point for a non-governmental entity, maybe, and it's not necessarily tailored for a governmental, I'm just.
Similar to the one that's up by Martel Well, it's in the
Yeah.
middle of the
You know,
field.
it's one thing if this is a standalone tower on a piece of
Yeah.
ground. These are towers on top of your water tower.
That's what I'm getting at.
You wanna control access, you wanna
make
know
sure it's a
that,
qualified person and they have
yeah,
insurance and hold the.
Yeah, I remember we had language in the past that we had to notify who it was and they were, you know. Bonded, certified, you know, I don't know what the exact language is, but it was,
What's
these
gonna
contracts
happen
were much more in depth in
if
the
you have
past.
to repair this water tower someday, who's responsible if you have to move those panels? And
Not
that's a-
us.
That's a lot of money. To do that and to have it engineered and to put on, you know, and also right now, the new language allows them to increase. Whatever they wanna put up there. You know, before you got a little bump in rent when they added panels. And this is just gives them the right to do whatever they want. It doesn't give you the right to have an engineer look at it as to how they're connecting these things to your tower. Or anything like that. I mean, I just did one of these in another municipality and we got all those things addressed.
I don't wanna turn down the revenue, so I don't wanna send an overly negative message to them, but I think we need to be. You know, direct in that, in our concerns.
We
I'd
don't
like
have
to
to,
make a motion to, put forward, this, lease agreement to be reviewed and, recommended changes by the attorney to protect the village residents and, in that regards with, the rent to being at or greater than what it was in the past. For the period of, that was recommended by the, Public Works Commission of a lease not to extend through November 30th, 2051.
And that, would that bring it back to us for review?
and just before you, just a second, Bob, is there a way that you can find out what comparable cities are making off of these? And then coordinate that with Paul.
Yeah, oh, I see, that's,
I'll second it.
That, you were saying, once Paul's done that review and it's coming back to us, it's not
That was,
just.
my motion was to have Paul review it. And make the recommended changes to protect the residents on their water tower with a lease rate not to be less than what it has been from the past going forward. And not to expire no later than November 30th, 2051.
Sounds great to me. I just
second
want to
it.
make sure it comes back to us for, once.
First and
over.
second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Both same sign.
Thanks, Paul and Bob, for continuing to work on this.
Discussion, possible approval, changing the clerk deputy treasurer to the village administrator / clerk. We did have a workshop on this, starting at 5 o'clock. I think we were all kind of in agreement. The plan would be, we already put 3 weeks ago, we put out applications for the clerk. Sounds like we have probably 30 or 35 applications to review so far. Yeah, the goal would kind of be to hopefully find people that we can interview that could possibly, you know, start out as a clerk and maybe jump into a village administrator / clerk position. And then if that gets busy, then we can do kind of a part-time clerk to later on down the road. But as of right now, we're just looking to fill that village clerk position
so
as it was presented.
you're gonna have to do an ordinance change.
If we do the,
To do an administrative / clerk.
That was one of the
Yeah,
many things we
and that's why-
discussed, yeah.
and that's why we're just doing the clerk for now, but if we do. If the person's a rock star and can transition into more of a village administrator.
Yep.
Then we'll.
Do an ordinance change and get a job description for
Right.
that position.
100%.
You've got all this covered.
We got it covered. You got it covered. So I'd make the motion for that.
Is there any action needed for that? Because we're not actually changing
Not doing
the,
anything.
the deputy clerk to, an administrator, so. Is there need to even have any motion on the matter, or just move forward with the?
No, let's go on a little discussion on timelines about reviewing applications. Now would be the time to
I think
probably,
that's fine. That's finance and personnel for you guys to get together and do that.
yeah.
The question is, and just, you know, from a personnel standpoint, discussion is if anybody wishes to be involved in on that, interview panel, please reach out to one of us on personnel or finance. We're looking to try to do, interviews on the 27th or 28th, based on a review of the applicants that we have, trying to hold them down by then.
Andrew, you're still willing to be on that?
Yep.
Panel?
Does anybody else wish to, be on that? Otherwise, we can have personnel and finance.
Bob?
I would like to as well.
Andrews, I trust her.
I'd like to be on there. Well,
All right. Discussion possible approval allocating clerk salary to treasurer and utility clerk.
I put this one on there. So in one of our discussions, when we talked about Deja leaving, I brought up the fact that since these girls will be doing the job in the interim, that they should get the pay that was budgeted for Deja's salary.
Not just the girl, but Bob and Joel as well. As we found out in our meeting before that they are doing some of the duties as well, so.
Are you saying like a couple of dollars hour range in the meantime, or are you saying all the money that she should be getting should be split up?
Let's start with all the money should be split up.
Could I make a suggestion on this, Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm not disagreeing with the added duties and everything that, the clerk and the treasurer have been experiencing, but maybe we should just take a step back and see how long this process is gonna take before we can get somebody started, and then look at what kind of cost savings there was there and be able to establish a figure through, after we determine how long they're gonna be actually doing those jobs and what type of work they had. And I'd like to get some input from them as well as to who was helping, because if there was other individuals in there involved, you know, nobody knows what that number is going to be, and in order for us to be able to evaluate it, it'd be nice to get those clear timelines of when they started doing the extra work, and when they finished the extra work, and how much extra work they actually accomplished, you know?
So at that point, we'll come back and then have the discussion.
I think
on how
that would
much
make sense.
There should be.
I'd like to table it until we get the clerk and figure out what that savings was and how that would be distributed. We can debate it then.
As long as we're in agreement that we can distribute some amount of money for taking on the added.
A proportion of
I,
it, yeah.
I think it's worth the discussion, and I think it is valid that there's a bonus or a compensation for.
I wouldn't mind doing like a $2 an hour raise each or something.
Yeah, I think that's.
Something in the meantime, and if it's,
Well, what I've seen other places when this has happened is that sort of like you're going down that road, I think, is sort of after the fact, when you get it figured out, that there's a bonus given
Mhm.
to
That's,
compensate the person for what they've done.
I think we're just I think everyone's agreeing we want it done. I think we're just trying to go on the fly right now, and I think it'd be more appropriate to figure out that you want to reward you and respect your time and appreciate everything you're doing. But let's get it right.
And you too.
Was there a motion?
And Joel.
Yeah, there's a motion to table.
I'll second.
further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, continued absenteeism of a board member. This is kind of a reminder that we're supposed to make at least 2/3 of the board meetings, otherwise by 2/3 majority vote of the board, the person could be removed. I think it should be addressed and hopefully corrected.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, you know, we had brought this issue up, when we started back with the joint meetings. That if we're having, absenteeism issues at the joint meetings and people, we couldn't get a quorum, the motion was put forward and it was adopted by the joint meeting. That if we were going to be missing a meeting, that we would at least reach out to the chairman or the clerk so that they were aware that there would be a possible shortcoming in a quorum. And, you know, it'd be nice to bring that forward here. I know that there's been some, you know, issues going on and I think it only behooves us to at least have the respect of the rest of us to know if we're gonna have a quorum or not and that everybody's able to participate. I think Brandon, you mentioned before about a code of conduct, even about absenteeism. And this is just kind of putting everybody on notice of you know, their attendance issues.
Anything else on that, or can we move on? Discussion possible approval, building inspector contract.
Mr. Chairman, I asked for you to bring this up, but I had a conversation with Tony today in your packet, you received something. And, that was brought to my attention, which I put forward and asked for it to be put on the agenda. However, after talking with, Tony, it's come to our attention that this was brought forward and in a short time frame and brought to another municipality and it wasn't accepted and it wasn't what he's actually doing in his actual practice with other municipalities, and that he showed me that he's in line with his pricing at other municipalities. So it was kind of a matter that I think can be you know, put aside and no action needed.
Appreciate you looking into it, Doug. Final motion,
Let's do adjourn.
for a second, or girl second? Second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 6:36 PM. Thank you, guys.